Everything just seems so sudden. It still seems like it's not real because the night that it happened, she had left me and my son's apartment. We had just talked to her about, just nothing stuff, like you always do, and making plans and everything. And then a few hours later, you get a phone call that your loved one has been hurt seriously. And you can't wrap your mind around it until we actually saw her. When somebody tells you that your relative has lost their legs, you can't understand that. You don't believe that. It's like, that's not possible. And the accident was just too weird. You don't really hear about an accident like that. That's something you see in the movies, some weird supernatural stuff, volcano and the cars are flying over the place, might land on somebody or something. So you don't think nothing of it. But when we came to the emergency room, because they were going to take her upstairs for surgery because they had to stop the bleeding, and she was awake and she was giving us the thumbs up and she was optimistic, but it's hard to be when you're seeing her in a condition you've never seen her before. And it takes everything in you to show that positivity back, because you don't want to cry in front of her and have her lose her hope. So we held her hand, we kissed her, told her we loved her, and they took her away. And then we had to wait for hours because we didn't know if she was going to make it. She pulled through that night, Thursday morning, and Thursday she was like herself. She couldn't talk because she had a breathing tube, but the job that she does know sign language, so she was signing at us. Of course, we don't know sign language. So we were doing the best we could to understand what she wanted, and then she would write it down and everything, and we could guess and stuff, and telling us what she wanted us to do. But her concern was, just like it was a normal day for her. I need my rent paid. I need my car insurance paid. Take care of these things, because that's what she was going to do anyway. And we're telling her, okay, we will take care of these things. Don't worry about it. Just rest, And then we're talking to her. We're joking with her. She's flipping off her boss. And, it's just...
It was just Joanne.
It was just Joanne.
She was herself. She was lucid. She was alert. She wanted us, and I had the sense that she knew she wasn't going to make it, because she kept telling us to be strong for each other. And I was doing the night shift, so I would stay overnight with her just so someone would be in a room with her. And I called myself, I was going to read to her. And she told me, she said, cut that, and you're not reading to me. And she said, just quiet. And I started humming to her, and that was okay, and I started singing, and she started directing, like we were back in choir, and she was directing, and there were some high notes I couldn't hit, and she's like, get it, and I'm like, I can't get that. But she was there. She was alert, and she was her old self for a minute, and that gave us hope that she might pull through.
Can we get you to not touch the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank
You shouldn't have put it there. You know what's going to touch it?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. If it's possible to pick up where you kind of left off on your train of thought. We're kind of getting a sense of it, of who Joanne was. She was very fun, charismatic, it sounds like.
Very
Tell
fun.
us a little bit more for those of us who didn't know her.
Joanne is like a scaredy cat. We went to see Jurassic Park, and she watched it on the floor behind me, peeking over my shoulder. That's how Joanne is. But if she has to fight for somebody, if a handicapped person has an issue or they're being abused or being treated bad, she's on the front line fighting. So that's her personality. She told me when she was in hospital, she said, I'm strong. I'm like, yeah, you are. And that's what she's always been, our strong tower.
You
said she gave you guys a thumbs up.
Oh,
Yes. Every day she gave it to us, saying she's okay. She's okay. She'd sign, she's okay. Okay.
When did it become apparent she may not pull through? I mean, to you, you said she might have had an indication. She wasn't. How about you?
it became apparent to me. I was here Saturday night, or it was probably early Sunday morning at 3:30 when she coded. When that alarm went off, I had a feeling because it seems like she was slipping away, and she was never quite the same after that. She was never alert for me again at that point. So, the thing is, I honestly think she was holding on for our mother. Friday night, I stayed the night with her, and I said, do you want to see Doll? Doll, we call her mother Doll. I said, do you want to see Doll? She said, yes. And she started crying. And I said, I will bring her. So I left the hospital at 6:30, and I went and got our mother and brought her up here. And once she saw our mother, it was like it was a sigh of relief. She was waiting for our mother. And I think it was good for both of them to see each other.
You talked about singing in choir. Church-going family? Or?
Yeah, we've been to Bethel AME. There's been a Smith and Bethel since 1948. And yeah, Joanne used to do stage productions at North High. They call it the Auroras back then, and she used to sing. That's why she knew when I wasn't hitting my notes. So, and she would tell me, stop. There's just some things you can't touch. And Luther Vandross was one of them. So I can sing Luther, and I tried, but she cut me off. But it seemed to be calming to her to hear the singing, songs from our past. That type of thing seemed to calm her, and it was a pleasure for me to do that for her.
What family does she leave behind? There's you guys here, your mother, you said.
Well, we have a lot of siblings. There are actually 12 of us. My parents had 10 children naturally, and they adopted my 2 younger nieces, so there's a lot of us. And they're all in Omaha, except I have one brother in Bremerton, Washington, so everybody's in Omaha.
She doesn't have any.
She does not have
She
any
doesn't have any
children,
children.
and she was not married.
Not the closest thing to
Yes.
sunshine.
Yeah, her nephew was everything to her. She took care of us. She was taking care of her brother. That's where the accident happened at, in front of her brother's house. She was taking care of him because our brother John is in kidney failure, and she was making sure he was eating. She was making sure he was taking his meds. She was taking care of him. She would make sure everything was taken care of for Mom. She made sure everything was taken care of for me and my son. She was a caretaker, and she had knee surgery 2 years ago, and we took care of her, and she was planning to get her other knee done, and she was setting everything up because she said, well, I was lied to the first time. She says, so now I know better in how to do this the second time. So she was getting everything set up. If there was anybody that needed help, she was there helping them. And
Not just our family.
everybody, yes.
She knew sign language. What was her job?
She works for NCORE. She provides support to people with developmental disabilities, and she's worked in the agency for about 24 years. I've had the privilege to know her for 10 in our area, and she provides support and assistance to right now. Currently, she works with 2 ladies, and she's just going to be really missed by a lot of people that she really enhanced their lives.
Are you her boss?
Yes.
What kind of traits about Joanne made her good at her job? You said she'd be missed.
She always advocated for the people she supported. Even when she was working a weekend position, but her job didn't stop at 3 on Sunday when she got off, because I'd get calls all week from her with different ideas on what we could do better. She worked day service. She was always advocating for the people, and not for recognition, not for any of that, just because it was Joanne. really just cared about people, and she cared about the people she worked with. She cared about her family because she talked a lot about her family, and she just always advocated to help people get a life and have a life that was enhanced, and that's what she did. So
This is a very sudden loss, and another driver hit her. Do you guys feel angry at that other driver?
Quite frankly, we haven't thought about the other driver. You know, there was rumors about what happened, what she was doing, her distraction, and quite frankly, we're not focused on that right now. We've asked people, when we were asking for prayers for our family, we asked that they pray for her family as well, because in a moment of distraction, she ruined not only our family, she ruined her own family too. And we're just going to leave that in the hands of the law. We're not going to worry about it. We don't wish her any ill will, and we're not even going to go there with that.
Seems like a family of healthcare professionals. How tough is it to, I guess, have to care for her at a time like that when she's cared for so many?
It wasn't a problem. It wasn't a thought. She's always been there for us, and we stayed. We were here every day. We made sure there was always somebody with her. We were not going to leave her alone. I was still here last night because in a moment of grief, I wanted to take her home with me, but I couldn't, But I didn't want her
To be alone.
I didn't want her to be alone, so my friend and my boyfriend stayed with me, but I knew she was dead, but I still held her hand because I wanted to warm her hands up, even though I know she couldn't do it herself. But and then before we left, I made sure she was covered up. And these things, that they're gone, but you still do the things that you would have always done for them if they were alive. I covered up to make sure she was warm. I made sure she was comfortable, even though she was gone. I talked to her because it doesn't matter if she could hear me or not. I just wanted her to know that even if she had survived, we would have taken care of her. We would have made sure her life would have been the best that it could have been, even with the disability that she would have had. She has taken care of so many people all this time. This just would have been the time for her to have been taken care of, and we would have made sure of it.
You said when you couldn't understand what she was signing to you, there were things she would write down to communicate. What were some of the last things she did say to you, aside from the bills and aside from the car insurance?
Pain.
Pain,
She
and who
was
she
in a
wanted,
lot of
and
pain
who
all
she
the
wanted
time.
to see. She wanted to make sure that
That we were
We're
taking
com-
care of each other.
and that we were coming back. She the way the bed was and everything, all she could do was basically see up. So when she would raise her hands, one of us would always be there to grab her hand so that she would know that we were there. It was hard to hear when they took the breathing tube out, because I thought Saturday that it'd be all right to do that, because that's when you really knew she was in pain, because all she would say was okay, 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 because she was trying to
Deal with it.
deal with the pain. It's like, okay, I'm okay, okay. But we knew that she wasn't. It was just too much. Her body was too traumatized. She
just couldn't take it
She
anymore.
couldn't take it anymore.
So what do
And
you
her
guys-
heart gave out. That's what happened. She couldn't take it anymore.
What do you guys do now? What's the next step for you as a family?
Right now, just planning her services, making sure we contact everyone. Her friends, she has a lot of friends. Take care of our mother, and we're a strong family, and we just keep moving on and focus on the best parts of Joanne, and not how she died, but how she lived.
Even when she was laying in the bed, when she asked to see us, she kept trying to make sure that we were okay. When I was there on, what was that, Friday? She was getting prepped for surgery, and she was dancing to the sounds of the machines. So I was going to make a song for her, but I didn't get to finish it.
The Northwest Radial Highway where the crash happened, at times it can be a 3-lane driving lane, at times there's parking. Have you guys thought about, is there anything you would like to see the state or the city do to change that so, there isn't confusion or maybe people aren't distracted in that 3rd lane when somebody is parked there?
Well, as a driver, as a competent driver, there's signs all up and down the road. It's kind of a given thing. You should know. If anybody's driving Radial Highway, you know. But
There's parking on both sides.
There's parking on both sides, and you know that lane between 4 to 6, all lanes are open. At 6 p.m., it becomes parking lane again. But it is a bad situation. But if you're a responsible driver, you pay attention to the road just like you would anywhere else. You think about Nebraska, all the one-way streets downtown have all changed. They're two-way now. It's paying attention to what you're doing when you're driving. That's being a responsible driver.
Is that more or less, what you'd like to say to drivers also, just about...
Yes, because while we were up there were so many accidents, car accident people in there. There's a girl up there, a 7-year-old girl who's fighting for her life. Their family was up there with us. There was another girl who came after we got up there. There were people that came last night. There's been so many accidents this week. What are people doing?
Reckless
Why aren't you paying
driving.
attention to what you're doing? It's crazy that our loved one was in a car accident, and then there just was a flood of them up there. I know because Creighton's trauma center had closed, so everything was directed there, but it just brought attention to, what are you people doing when you're driving? Why aren't you paying attention? You are controlling a vehicle that can become a weapon. You have to be aware of what you're doing. You can't just think that, because you've seen the road and nothing was there, it's going to stay that way. People will jump out from behind a car at any time. People are doing, their normal life's business. You got to be aware of everybody else. It's the same when you're driving down the street. A person can cut in front of you in a split second. You have to be aware when you're driving a vehicle. That is your responsibility.
Is there anything else you want people to know about Joanne? This is a chance to kind of put a personality behind the name that we've been hearing for a few days now. So I guess maybe just think if there's anything else you want people to know.
Joanne was very independent. She lived her life on her terms. Whenever there was any obstacle or anything in her way, she found a way around it. She really didn't complain about too much. She just lived her life the way she wanted to. And she included all of us in it. She didn't leave us out or anything. If there was ever anything anybody needed, she was there. She was on it. She found a way. I know a lot of people had been asking about a benefit fund, so we got one set up, and it's benefit fund through Great Western Bank in Joanne Smith's name, because I know a lot of people were asking what they could do. So we never thought of it until somebody pointed it out, and we didn't know what to do. So, but we got it set up. So
And
it's
that money will go
Toward her services, bills, whatever that needs to be covered.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.